I'm 30 months away from age 30. So my birthday is June 12th. Today's December 12th. And I was thinking about it yesterday, 30 months until age 30. I thought that was just kind of cool of a numeric lining up, and just thinking about things going into next year. I just got my business, La Jolla Cove Headwear, all licensed and permitted, just waiting on business licensing and tax information in the mail so I can start reporting sales tax. I already got my EIN number. And so I can just stay home the next 2 years and work the business for 2 years, at which point I'll be 29. I could qualify for a mortgage at that point if I wanted to work the business here in San Diego and then possibly get a mortgage in a cheap state, somewhere in the Midwest or wherever, anywhere that's cheaper than California in terms of a median home price. So California, home here that's $500,000, I could go to a cheap state for maybe $100,000, or don't even go the mortgage route. Stay home for 2 years, work the business now after I get the business on the books for 2 years, and then get like a Class A motorhome. Like I wanted to do the camper van idea, moved back home in March of this year, but used the initial camper van money to start my business in June, and I could do that. So I have a couple things in terms of what I want to do over the next 2 years. Continue to grow my YouTube channel and continue to work my business now that it's going to be on the books officially with the IRS and everything, because California has this vendor situation right now where there's Senate Bill 946, the Sidewalk Vendor Act, where it's prohibited for cities to ban vending. Now, cities can put their own ordinance on the vending law, which means that right now in California, depending on where you live, in San Diego, it's like a free-for-all right now where you could just take any table, plastic table you get at Walmart or something, go set up at public parks, beaches, sidewalks, and just start your business. No permitting, no licensing, no sales tax reporting. They're not even checking food for health permits or food handlers or any of that. So it's one of those things right now, especially in San Diego. I was even interviewed. I was at a meeting a couple days ago talking about this vendor law and the ordinance that is coming up through city council. I was interviewed by CBS San Diego, and there's an article in the news about it, in the local news. And some people are for the vendors, some people are against the vendors for a variety of reasons. And it was supposed to go to city council in San Diego December 14th, this Tuesday. And the new city council president X'd it from the agenda. So now it's back to committee, which means they just kind of postponed what they're going to do about the vendors. So with California Senate Bill 946, they can't just outlaw it in general, but each city can put its own ordinance in certain locations and what you can sell, times, just maybe how many feet you can take up as a vendor, just certain things like that. They can't just outlaw it in general, but they can put regulations on it. So even though there aren't regulations on it right now, I anticipate that at some point in the future they could put regulations on it. So I just got ahead of the game. So even though I don't need to report sales tax, I don't need to report anything about my business with like a business permit or licensing. Of course, you have to report your income at the end of the year for federal tax, but you don't need to go through proper business channels right now with the way that the law is set up. But anticipating that they could do whatever in the future, this year I officially created my business, La Jolla Cove Headwear, with my EIN number if I ever want to put an employee on the payroll, with my seller's permit for the state of California, and now with my business license that I'm waiting for in the mail, with my business tax certificate to then report sales tax quarterly, or however I want to set it up. But thinking about it, being 27 and a half right now, 30 months until age 30, with the way that a lot of mortgage lenders are set up where you need those 2 years to get a mortgage, I could either go that route, I could do the camper van thing, I could just save the money. But now with red pill knowledge, red pill awareness, and just my own experiences, my own knowledge, my own intuition, and all the content here on YouTube, and just experiences and relationships with people, it just being able to hone in more what you want out of life. And going forward, I just love where things are at. I'm going to continue to grow my YouTube channel. I appreciate all the support on it so far. Right now, I'm just in the driver's seat of my car. I just thought about this yesterday. I'm like, oh, it's halfway till 28. It's my half birthday tomorrow. That's what I was thinking last night. And I thought about it. I was like, oh, 30 months until age 30 is like, it's cool. It's one of those just things that it lines up like that. It makes you think about it, even though, it's kind of corny, but at the same time too, it's just, it's cool to be conscious about what you're doing. Like for example, moving back home this year, I was at a family rental for 25 months prior. I just moved back home in March of this year. And so 25 months at a family rental house, even though I lived alone, which was awesome, $1,200 a month for 25 months, that's $30,000. That could be the down payment on the mortgage or the Class A motorhome or savings or investment or whatever. But now that I'm more red pill aware, and I was back then, even growing up as a kid, I was red pill about a lot of things before even knowing the term. But just as I get older and just more knowledge and just more experiences, I'm able to just say, like, home isn't that bad. Like, I have a good family situation, which is fortunate, because a lot of people, it's just not a choice. They just can't be around a certain environment, whether it's toxic or whatever the case is at home. Everyone's got their own situation. But fortunately, I have a place here in San Diego where my grandpa was in the Navy out here, and back in 1930s, 40s, housing really cheap. So we got in here on my mom's side when it was really cheap, and that's the only reason I'm able to afford it out here. Otherwise, trying to come into San Diego from scratch, it's hard. And so, whereas a lot of people, they're born in other parts of the world, and then they go, wow, it'd be nice to get out to San Diego or LA or New York or the bright lights. Maybe they're from a small Midwest town or whatever. Being from this big city where it's just paradise weather all year, I've known this my whole life. So I might do the reverse trajectory. I might make my money here, and then with the money I make in an expensive city like San Diego, go to like some cheap state like Wisconsin, Alabama, somewhere in the Midwest, anywhere. I say Wisconsin, Alabama, it's two of the ones I've actually been looking at just for a couple reasons. But I don't have that, like, why would you leave San Diego? Because it's my hometown. I'll always have a place here to come in for family and just my experiences. If I stay here at home and work another 2.5 years, that would be 30 years of living in San Diego, other than when I went to college for a little bit, but that was in LA. So, I mean, it's still Southern California. I don't have what is SoCal like? What is New York like? I'm already from here. So I might do the reverse trajectory. Get my money somewhere where I get more bang for my buck. Work here in San Diego, get an investment property somewhere where I can afford it, because trying to get a house here, median home price, I could pay for what you get $500,000 here in San Diego. I could get that maybe $100,000 somewhere else, or $120,000, $150,000, who knows? But that's the thing. It's that you can consciously think about things down the line, and part of getting my business all licensed and permitted, even though you don't have to right now with the way that the law is set up, part of that is getting it on the books, so that if I ever do want that mortgage for whatever reason, or car loan for a Class A motorhome or whatever, I'll have something on the books. It'll be safe no matter what regulations they put on it, and just go from there. And part of the reason I was thinking about this too, coinciding with the title and everything, 30 months until age 30, I wasn't even thinking mortgage and loans and all that, because I live in a way that's very, if I don't have the cash for it, I just don't get it. I've never had a credit card. I've never been interested in building credit. I wish I would have had better education on the overall concept of it through school and all of that. But one good thing about going to college, because I dropped out in November of sophomore year. I graduated high school in 2012. November of sophomore year was November of 2013. I didn't even finish the first semester. I just saw the school system, the debt, the way that you can be an entrepreneur, just learning more things other than that everybody gets a trophy, and the guy that gets an A and works harder is going to do better than the guy that gets an F. I learned more about the impact of your race and your money and your looks and your socioeconomic status and how other people perceive you and the family situation you had. So I learned more about that and woke up to what I wanted to do. And I didn't want to go into all that debt that I would have been taking on. So I feel in one way that it was a waste of time, because if I had better education on certain things, I would just never have applied to college and even gone into any debt. But the one good thing is that I did start building credit unbeknownst to me. I just checked my credit score the other day, and paying off the student loans that I have from a year and 2 months of school has been building credit, because they were federal loans. And so I wasn't even paying off these federal student loans in terms of like, oh, I'm gonna build this credit because I'm gonna get this mortgage to. I wasn't even thinking like that. I was just paying off the loans because I was like, wow, this sucks. So I went to college thinking that was just the path, and now I have this debt. Why did I have this debt for no reason? So I was just kind of trying to pay off loans just to pay off the loans, just to not be in debt. Because like I said, I've never been that way. I've never had a credit card. I've never walked by a store and like, oh, I just need that new pair of shoes, or I just need that whatever, and I don't have the money, so well, I'll pay it back because I'm gonna get paid in 2 weeks. I've just never been like that. If I don't have the cash, then I don't buy it. And I don't want to have a life of debt and obligation unnecessarily. But the one good thing about that year and 2 months is that I didn't even know that paying off a federal student loan was building credit. So I have a really good credit score. I just checked my credit score is 736 for like the main one, and then I checked into all the FICOs, and the FICO 2, which a lot of mortgage lenders use, is a 756. And before I checked it a couple years ago, and then even last year, and it was like 5 something. Like it was in the fair range because I just never had a credit card. I had nothing to ever pay off credit other than those loans. But in the last year and a half, 2 years, those student loans that I've had since 2013 have really been improving my credit, like to the excellent ranges. So if I just continue to work my business, La Jolla Cove Headwear, over the next 2 years, say 2023, or it's not 2023, 2022 and 2023, those 2 years, getting it on the books and while paying off those loans still to even improve my credit even more, I could be 29 in December of 2023, and then I'll have the 2 years on the books if I want to go the mortgage route, just make my money here, stay home, save the money, and then look to a state that's way cheaper than California, and I can make it my primary residence because I have a vending job, which I could always fly back home, and especially since the summers are the real killers for the money, fly back home and work my La Jolla Cove Headwear here, and then live wherever that is to claim primary residence, or I just pay a slightly higher rate for an investment property, or I don't even go the mortgage route and just get a Class A motorhome and still just kind of live mobile and nomadic. And there's options for it. So I'm glad with my state of mind, because also too, just continue to grow YouTube. Who knows where YouTube could be in 2 years? It's one of those things that there's so much up in the air. And even if YouTube was minimum wage, which I would be more than happy with, if YouTube got to minimum wage, I could even use the YouTube money to help pay somebody to get an employee for my business, La Jolla Cove Headwear. So then I can get, say in 2 years, my YouTube channel grows to a point where it's making me minimum wage. I'll be 29 in 2 years, and then 30 in June of 2024. I could pay a kid that's like 18, coming out of high school, needs a summer job. I'm like, hey, I got this business, La Jolla Cove Headwear. Pay them better than minimum wage, but like pay them good to have a cool summer job, because I have the YouTube money that helps do that. And then now I have the YouTube money, the money from the business, to pay that kid, get that kid employed so that they have their starting job, which is fun. I'd be a great boss. I'd be chill, just show up and just communicate stuff and like, hey, I'm sick, or I can't do it, or got this going on, or I'd be chill. For me, the win of that would be I've worked my whole 20s and I'm older now. I can give a kid starting out some employment, and through the YouTube and through the business, even if I'm not making that much myself, I've propped myself up in a way where I'm making a residual amount to where I don't have to physically show up somewhere. Or with that mortgage, if I get that, then that could be the rental property, or whatever the case is, whatever I want to do with any of this. But just thinking about it going forward, 30 months until age 30, today officially, December 12th being my half birthday, June 12th being my birthday. So just kind of a cool concept to play with and to think about really where I want to be. And I appreciate the support on the YouTube channel, the likes, the comments, and even the dislikes, which now they've removed. I just did a video on that, which kind of makes the ratings pointless. I think they should have kept dislikes, but I just appreciate the feedback on the channel. Just, it's a good feeling to know that you put your time into something, and if someone gives you their time, that they appreciate what you're doing.